So first, thank you for joining us. And can you introduce yourself to the
Definitely,
audience?
definitely. Well, first of all, I want to thank you for inviting me to deliver a presentation here. And I want to thank the audience for attending. My name is Frederick Khoury, as you can see on the bio in front of you. And I'm currently a pre-sales architect with Microsoft. And at the same time, we do deliver trainings and so on. So one thing I like usually delivering, well, during my job is training sessions for partners, for customers, even for my own colleagues and so on around data and AI and the different things we can do with data and AI. And yeah, that's more or less it. I've been with Microsoft for 4.5 years, and the nice thing to know is that one thing I love doing is seeing what's new and how this novelty can actually help and support what I'm learning, what I'm understanding, and how it can support me and my colleagues and my environment in delivering what's best in general. Because what you really want to figure out or realize is that you're never going to stop at a certain point. You're consistently moving forward, you're consistently learning, consistently improving and everything. And the new the new things we find in technology and so on, they help us with that. And that's one reason why I love data and AI, because it's always new. There are lots of interesting things to do, and and it's all about data now. So yeah, well, that's my intro. And for today, you're going to note that the slide is around, or the main title is around Azure Artificial Intelligence and so on. We're going to be talking about artificial intelligence. We're going to mention, of course, machine learning and a couple of AI applications and a few things we can derive from AI. I think from what I understood, all the questions are going to be kept for the very, very end, right?
Exactly. Yes, exactly.
Okay, perfect. And is there a way for me to flip the slides myself?
I will help you for now till we resolve it. Is it okay?
Yeah, sure, sure. All right, so let's move forward. Again, we have some very nice slides where we add a few sentences like invent with purpose and so on. And these are very nice sentences to know, and very nice sales pitches that you can use. You're going to note now, and that's been going on for the past few years.
Okay.
Artificial intelligence has been a key factor in improving your business. You're going to note here that we have a large number of customers who already are using our AI offering, the different solutions we have, the solutions you're going to be looking into in a bit. And you're also going to notice that the Fortune 100 companies have almost all been using Azure Artificial Intelligence. And even if we decide to put Microsoft aside and not add any vendor names to whatever technology we're talking about, when we talk data, when we talk artificial intelligence, data in general and what you do with your data is something crucial, because if you're not analyzing your data, if you're not looking at better ways to analyze your data, if you're not looking at better ways to monetize and productionize your data, then you're going to find yourself in trouble. And that's the reason why we keep on talking about data. We keep on stressing on data. You need to do 1, 2, 3, and 4 with your data, and so on. We're going to note that moving forward, all this comes with research, of course, because you can't really do anything without any research. So let's move 2 slides forward. What we've been doing is, with artificial intelligence, we've been trying and we've been working a lot in teaching our solutions, teaching our applications, our products, and so on, to try and act or mimic human beings. The main idea is artificial intelligence is mimicking a human being, trying to mimic a human being using a machine. The purpose behind that is to make the life of a human being easier. You're going to note that, for example, there are solutions that have been implemented to recognize speech, recognize the person talking. This is definitely good for security solutions. It would be perfect to an example, we're running a meeting and the cameras aren't on and we want to know who's talking. So the speaker recognition during a meeting. You have a couple of meeting rooms and there are 5 people around the mic in one meeting room and 6 people around the mic in the second meeting room. No videos are on. You can recognize the speakers easily using speech recognition. At the same time, you also want to understand conversations, you want to understand linguistics, you want to understand objects and so on. There was one thing I was going to show had I been able to share my screen. Now, PowerPoint itself, so if we move a slide forward, everything we mentioned during this slide is something we implemented in one of our Microsoft solutions. You're going to notice that we embed those in Bing search with cognitive search and so on. We have Office 365, and that's the nice thing. In PowerPoint, I can enable subtitles, and I can also enable the speech to text part. So while I'm talking now in English, PowerPoint will register what I'm saying. It's going to send this to my AI API that translates what I'm speaking into text. And then it sends this to another artificial intelligence API that takes the text and translates it to another language and then displays it for me. You can have real-time translation, live translation in front of you during your PowerPoint presentation. And a very nice application for this would be, let's say that you're in a room and you have people speaking different languages. Instead of having to find different speakers or instead of having to translate your sentences while speaking, or instead of having to find these devices that people have to wear and so on, you simply get your slides with translation at the very bottom, which is similar to watching a movie in the cinema. We sometimes go to cinemas in different countries. You'll see that the movie is in a language, you speak another language. Subtitles are available below. This is something very important. Why? Because you find yourself in this situation now with COVID, for example. We find ourselves in a situation where we need to deliver our sessions virtually, remotely. We're going to be working with a lot of presentations and sharing a lot of presentations and so on. This real-time translation does save a lot. And it's only part of the APIs. We're going to be looking at those in a bit. Of course, with the Xbox as well, one thing you're going to note is this personalized experiences part. You go, you buy a couple of games and you play those. Xbox starts noting down your profile, your demographics, so boy, girl, man, woman, age range between 18 and 25, or maybe 25 and 35, or living in Egypt, living in the KSA, maybe in London or in New York, looking at the different places the players are living in, understanding the different patterns with which they choose games, and then they start recommending stuff. So Xbox would start recommending, okay, so you played these 2 games, and according to your profile, you're most likely going to enjoy this 3rd game. This is the same experience you find when shopping on Amazon, when checking for a movie on Netflix, and so on. The same personalized experience. So now let's move to the next slide. We're going to be talking mainly about machine learning because artificial intelligence is based on machine learning. So you want to train a machine to act like a human being, you need to teach it a few things. Then we're going to look into the AI apps and agents that we currently have on Azure. These are the things that you're going to be experimenting with. And the nice thing is a lot of those APIs you can actually go and experiment with for free, because we want to actually encourage you to try out our different products, see how they work and so on. So there's a learning part here. And the third thing would be knowledge mining, which leverages the different AI APIs in combination to actually help with the knowledge mining part. All right, so starting with machine learning, you're going to note that on the slide, we're talking about 4 points. And these 4 points are equally important. Number one, you want not just the data scientists to be able to work with machine learning, you want almost everyone to work with that. So we do have a machine learning experience for those who do not know how to script, so you can actually implement a model using drag and drop. We have, of course, the notebooks, the Jupyter notebooks that people who love R and Python can use. We also have automated machine learning, and that's for those who want to be efficient. And actually, even those who don't want to be efficient, AutoML is very important, because when you're implementing a machine learning model, sometimes you need to try different algorithms. That means you're going to have to go and run the model yourself, wait for the results, get the results, run again and again and again and again manually. AutoML just does this for you and then tells you, okay, the best results came from this model with these hyperparameters and so on and so forth. So you have machine learning for all skills. You also have machine learning with a DevOps flavor. Now, I know that DevOps is a very important keyword nowadays when it comes to mobile application development. And because it's very important with mobile app development and it helped improve the process dramatically, we're also using it to improve the process of machine learning dramatically. So you can go and implement the models, leveraging the whole pipelines process, sprints, and so on, to be able to make sure that you have this model constantly updated, this continuous development and continuous integration aspect of DevOps integrated with the machine learning. Of course, open and interoperable, because you want to be able to work with all tools, all solutions, all technologies, and so on. So you can mix and match between Azure machine learning and some other stuff. And at the same time, because we are also integrating open source solutions within our solutions, you'll find yourself able to write multiple scripts in multiple languages and so on. And of course, the trusted part with security and everything taken into consideration.
When you say 1 million experiments per month, you talk about the free ones, the ones on the cloud, where I personally use Azure machine learning and have run few experiments, of course. So that's the amazing thing about it, that it's open for everyone, it's for free.
Yes, that's true, because you'll find that the whole 1 million experiments per month, that means that we are availing a platform that's able to handle all that. And this platform, but because this comes with the whole benefits of the cloud part, so you have scalability, you have flexibility in creating and deleting resources, you have the ability to create resources in different places, so you have security and availability and all that. So the 1 million experiments per month, yes, this definitely includes the free platform, the paid platform, the light workloads, the heavy workloads, and so on. And I'm very happy that you mentioned the free platform, because we do have the Classic Studio available online that everyone can register for. And you can register for that studio using, it's not like Power BI. So Power BI, to register for an account, you need a work or school account. With the machine learning Classic Studio, you could register with any email. Hotmail, Gmail, and so on. You can get an account and you'll get a small, what's it called? You'll get this.
You get this
the tool.
workplace.
Yeah, exactly. The workplace. Thank you.
Yes.
You'll get this small workplace where you can go and implement certain experiments, and you can even actually get a small model that you can deploy. So you can even use it for small production grade experiments. Definitely for a full-scale production environment and large enterprises and so on, this won't do, but at least it gets you started, and it shows you the drag and drop interface. At the same time, the drag and drop interface has a very nice benefit that it gives you modules that you can add if you want to, well, add additional Python modules, R scripts, SQL transformations, and so on. I believe you worked with this a bit, right?
Yes. What I really like to say here, it's very user-friendly for people like me who have no programming background. I'm a mechanical engineer. Still, you make it very easy, very user-friendly, using mind maps. Everything is visual, just drag and drop. And you run it and you test it, and it even makes diagnostic for you if you have a problem. That's really amazing and impressive and easy.
That's music to my ears. I love it. I love it when I'm being told how these different tools really make our lives easier, because this means you're able to analyze your data. You're able to come up with different insights that you weren't able to come up with before, thanks to a simple tool.
Of course, we have been going through experience with many of our trainees and participants in our trainings, and it made everyone's life easy. It's really amazing.
Yep.
So
Perfect.
shall
And
we move on?
yeah, and we're also going to be sharing the link of these tools. We're going to be sharing links for the different tools and different things we're going to be looking at today at the very end during the questions section. In fact, I believe I can respond to certain questions in the chat. So I'll be sending you lots of links at the very end for you to be able to check out. Now, to add more value to what you mentioned earlier, since we were talking different skill sets, since we were talking about the machine learning ops part, you'll note that what we want to do is to marry, or not really marry, but increase the cohesion between the work of a data scientist and the work of an IT professional. So the IT professional is not a data scientist. The IT professional knows how to set up an IT environment, knows how to set up a database, the applications, the servers, the networking part, the security part, and everything. The data scientist just wants to play around with the data. But who stored this data for him? The IT professional. So if the data scientist and the IT professional do not work hand in hand, you will not get the best results. Or at least if you get these results, you will not get them in optimal time. Because the IT professional also needs to know what the best way to store the data would look like. A data scientist is working, for example, with key value pairs. You don't store that in a database, in a SQL database. It's a NoSQL database. You're going to work with lots of documents and text and so on. You get a document database for that. You're going to be working with a lot of social media and so on. You use a big data environment. You're going to be working with a relational model with lots of traditional data sets. Then you work with a database. So the IT professional and the data scientists, they work together to see how the data is going to be stored, how it's going to be used. And then once data scientist starts working with the data, we need to start deploying models. So you'll see here at the very bottom, model reproducibility, validation, deployment, retraining, right? So the data scientist works on the model, but then the model needs to be deployed someplace, a server, where the model is going to be receiving certain inputs, generating outputs, and then based on these outputs, certain actions will take place. And that's why both have to work hand in hand together. So let's move forward. This is the part I really like when we talk scenarios, because we can keep on talking about technology, we can keep on talking about tools a lot, but it doesn't really become interesting until we start talking about ways with which we can use these tools. I heard banking during the last presentation. Of course, when we talk machine learning and we talk artificial intelligence, banking is one of the industries that benefit from this the most. You talk about certain things like fraud detection, and we're not just talking about detection, we also talk about prevention and prevention in real time. We talk about risk analysis, we talk about product affinity analysis, we talk about lots of things. The first scenario we have in front of us would be the predictive maintenance scenario. This predictive maintenance scenario is an excellent scenario because it not only talks about machine learning, but I also leverage this for an IoT discussion, leveraging devices and what you can do with devices in real time and so on and so forth. So you'll note here that you have your device at the well site. It's capturing information and it's sending this information to your IoT hub. So the IoT hub is this, it's a tool we have. It's hosted on Azure. It listens to events in real time. And it does two things. Of course, for us to be able to train a model to understand the data, we have to take a historical copy. So we store in the data lake. So this data lake storage you have at the very bottom receives data from the IoT hub that the sensor generated. At the same time, we want to look at the data in real time. So we get a capture in real time of the data pushed to a dashboard. You'll note that at the very beginning, when we're still implementing things from scratch, you're only looking at sensor readings. Your dashboard will show you, okay, so the temperature reading of the sensor is 75 degrees. Now it's 78, then it's 73, 70, 65. No, now it's 95, so something peaked. So the engineer is looking at the dashboard, okay, something is wrong with this temperature, we need to take action. 1, 2, 3 different types of actions, different sensors, so on and so forth. We start learning what's going on. You're going to notice that when we hit the next button on this presentation, the more streaming takes place, the more data you get, the more you're able to look at your model and understand what's going on. It's like a child. the child sees inputs in front of it. It starts learning from these inputs. And then once it starts receiving new inputs, it can say, okay, based on what I've seen earlier, this is an apple, this is an orange, and so on. It's the same case with predictive maintenance. So now I was able to train my model to understand this data that's coming in real time. Because it understands it now, it's able to look into what's coming in real time and say, okay, this is what's going to happen. You need to fix this now, because if you don't fix it now, this other component will fail. Predictive maintenance is possibly the most important scenario for factories nowadays. Factories want to be able to look at their sensor readings and understand, okay, is this machine going to go wrong? If yes, let's service it before having to fix it. Because if you service it, it takes a couple of hours. If you fix it, it takes a couple of days, weeks, or months. So this is one scenario. The next scenario, so we'll move forward in our slides, is the inventory management. Now, inventory management is something that's very nice for sales, retail, and so on, because you're looking at your point of sales data, all the receipts, all the purchases that were done, and you store all that in a data lake. Once you take this data from a data lake, structure it, cleanse it, and then move it to your main data warehouse or your Synapse Analytics, you'll be able to do two things. Cater to your ordering system. So those who want to order items and so on, they'll see what's taking place within your inventory. They'll be able to see, okay, so there are two views for that. There's the person who's going to be buying online, and there's the person managing the inventory. So the person managing the inventory will be able to see, okay, so this is the amount of purchases that were made. These were the items that were sold the most. I need to replenish my my stock of let's say t-shirts and pullovers. At the same time, the person buying will be able to see, okay, so there are these items available. They are in the inventory. They could be delivered in so and so and so amount of time. I can also look into my Power BI report, of course, because the very beginning of describing your data, the descriptive part of analytics, is business intelligence. So Power BI would help you with that, to give you a nice report with different insights, like these were the numbers of items sold in Jan, Feb, March, April, May, and so on. Now, because you have been collecting historical data, just as with predictive maintenance, you were able to start building a machine learning model. Now, this machine learning model would start looking into behavioral patterns, the demographics of the users buying products, how often do they buy products? Do they buy products in the morning, afternoon, evening? For example, you'll find that usually, let's say, stay-at-home parents, they would be making their purchases in the morning. They'd log online, they'd go and see what they need to buy, they'd buy it online in the morning. The parents who actually work physically at their own office, they go to the office and they purchase the product and so on. So these behaviors, these historical patterns, you get them, you use them to build your model, and then you're going to be able to start understanding what's going on, and then you're going to be able to predict what will go on in the future. So with the predictive maintenance part, we're able to look into sensor readings in real time and say, okay, so this sensor reading is an alert. It means this device will fail in 2 days. We have to go and fix it. With inventory management, the predictive part is going to say, okay, you've been selling with this pattern over these 6-7 months. That means that if you continue this way over the next few months, you're going to sell this way. These sales, if they are satisfactory, if they are moving up and so on, then you're in a good condition. If the prediction is not a positive prediction for you, then you can start looking at corrective measures, start thinking of campaigns, maybe getting different products, maybe reorganizing your inventory, coming up with offers and so on. So the inventory management comes and helps with that as well. So these are two scenarios for the machine learning part. Little Caesars uses the inventory management scenario, for example. The fraud detection part, we don't have slides for that, but we can definitely talk about it a lot more. And we do have a fraud detection open source experiment that you can get. It's on GitHub. I can also send you the link for that. It's a very nice experiment. It's an R, you can download it, you can recreate it, you can repurpose it, and so on. It's quite nice, and it's been there for quite some time as well. It's been used and reused by several people. Now, the main, let's say the main event for our presentation today is what we have in front of us now, so the AI apps and APIs. So let's move a slide further. And what I'd like to talk about here is the AI apps and the AI APIs and so on. We split them into two parts. There's the cognitive services part. So these are the actual APIs that do the intelligence part. So the speech to text, text to speech, understanding images, understanding what's being said, and so on. And then there's the bot service. And the bot service is this application that tries to act like a human being or like a person and leverages the cognitive services to be able to deliver something nice and easy, a nice experience, and so on. Now, you'll note that bots have started to appear in different websites for, let's say, support purposes, booking purposes. You can see that you can just go and find a chatbot and you'd say, hello, I'd like to see what flights are going to depart tomorrow to Cairo. And it will show you the flights. At the same time, you can go and say, hello, I'd like to, let's say you're looking at a telco's website. I'd like to migrate to a different rate plan. The bot services help with that. So this is the application that has the cognitive services in the backend. So let's move forward. And this is the cool part. So we were talking about the cognitive services or the AI part mimicking a human being. So the part that we can mimic using AI now are these 5 aspects. Basically, 2 of the senses or 3 of the senses. Well, the main senses are what we can see and what we can hear. That's what the cognitive services can do and what we can speak. So these are the 3 senses covered by cognitive services, covering these 5 aspects. So decision making, understanding linguistics, understanding the meaning behind things, understanding the speech itself, so understanding the text, understanding the images that are being displayed, and being able to leverage all that to do some searching and cognitive searching and so on. So let's move one slide. The decision-making process itself, the next slide will show us. It helps with the whole personalization part. You go to a service and you choose something that you like. It starts understanding your selection. It starts understanding the behavior behind the selection and will then be able to personalize your experience. It does that with, let's say, websites that show you reading articles. If you read the entire article, that means you're interested. If you only skim through it, you're not, and so on. Moving forward, we get the text analytics part. You start understanding the text that's within a page, an application, and so on. Taking this text, seeing the sentiment, understanding the entities. Like I could be typing in, I love Liverpool. It's going to say, okay, so love is a positive word. That means there's a positive sentiment here. Liverpool is the name of a city. And usually if someone mentions the name of the city, they usually are talking about the football team. So this is the entity. So for example, with decision making, we're able to personalize based on the decisions you've been making. With linguistics and so on, you're able to understand the sentiment, you're able to understand the text, what's being said, and so on. And it comes paired with speech because it's not just about looking at written text, but we also want to see what's being said. So I could be talking about cars now. It takes what I'm saying, it turns it into text, understands the different entities, the sentiment behind it. I love this car, I'm not a fan of that car, and so on and so forth. And it then starts introducing as well the neural part to be able to start recognizing different speech patterns of different speakers, understanding who's saying what and why they're saying it. And the last part would be the vision part, which is what we can see. And the nice thing about vision is we have 2 models for that. There's one that's trained with all the images we have, so that's the computer vision model, and there's the custom vision model. Custom vision is usually what you train yourself to recognize. It's usually for a personalized tool and experience and so on. Now, all these aspects, they fit into the conversational AI platform. You want to implement a bot, and the bot uses one of the APIs to be intelligent and be able to answer to certain solutions and so on. And then you want to integrate this bot within applications such as Teams, your own mobile applications, a virtual agent, a website, and so on. So this platform is a comprehensive platform that includes the app that acts as a bot, includes the APIs that provide this intelligence, this human capability, and so on. And of course, the integration within this AI platform to be able to integrate it with different applications and channels and so on. Now we move a step further to start looking into different scenarios that we have here. Now, as I said earlier, the coolest part is the whole scenarios thing. And we're going to be talking about a couple of scenarios here. The first one would be the robotic process automation. But let me actually mention these different scenarios in a nutshell. So robotic process automation, it helps you see what's going on with your automation process and understand what needs to be done here and there. The personalization thing, this is like the Xbox and the Netflix and Amazon personalization solution to personalize your experience, because when you give your customer a personalized experience, it makes them relate to you. Like if I have a customer that opens Netflix and sees movies and TV shows that make sense to them, they'd be happier.
Frederick, may I interrupt
Yes.
you? Can you explain what is RPA? Because not everyone is familiar with RPA, please.
Sure. We'll go into details actually when looking at the scenario itself. So I'll keep this explanation for a minute later.
Okay.
So the personalization thing is just to personalize your experience, because if you give your customer a personalized experience, they relate better to you. You open your Netflix show, you find the shows you want to watch. You don't get a hard time looking for TV shows. You open your Amazon account, you know what you want to buy. It doesn't give you a hard time searching for things that interest you. Same thing with reading applications and so on and so forth. Object detection definitely could be used for certain security cases and so on. You could have, for example, a camera looking at the employees in an office and detecting, okay, the employee is wearing a face mask, they're good, they're not wearing a face mask, send them an alert. Intelligent customer support, of course, we've all been through this whole experience with customer support not being the best thing ever. So you want a support that actually caters to your need, that can see if you're talking in a way that's irritated or happy. If you're happy, then it's good. If you're irritated, then direct you to an agent that will be able to handle your issues better in order to gain your trust and not lose it. That sentiment analysis, definitely understanding whether you're happy or sad. And the intelligent agents, well, these are the bots and so on that leverage the AI APIs to be able to give you something like intelligent customer support. So it's a more generic thing. So now let's move forward to start talking about robotic process automation. Now, the whole idea behind the robotic process automation is you just want to automate a process. So here, for example, if we hit the next button so we can check the entire process, you get client reports in anywhere, a maintenance factory, a bank, any entity that has lots of reports, you can get these reports. And what you want to do is you want to look at this process of analyzing the reports and automate it. It's as simple as that. So it's all about the whole business process that you want to implement in the very end. And I know that the robotic part can be a little bit misleading, but it's all about a robotic process. So you get this process that consists of a set of steps that are well known, but that a human being is actually performing. Why? Because you don't have a machine to do that. The human being that does this process ends up getting bored and doesn't want to do the process. Why? Because it's boring, because it's robotic. They want to do something more, they want to add to that. And so in that case, you are now able to automate this process so that the person who used to do this robotic process manually can do something else and be, well, more creative and so on. Let's just move a step back, sorry. So the whole idea is you get your reports, you pull in these reports. Instead of having a human being analyze those, you get your form recognizer, which is one of our AI APIs. Look at these reports, extract the data, give it a structure, store it in your data store, and then push it to the robotic process, the business process itself, that will do something with these reports. These reports have status updates and so on. So the business process will leverage those. At the same time, you get your dashboard that tells you, okay, so what's in the reports, how many clients, over what period of time, how many processes are complete, incomplete, under process, and so on and so forth. So that's the whole idea behind the robotic process automation.
So physically, there is no robot, but actually you automate the process yourself. It's as if you make your own robot, your process.
Exactly. It's because the process that was there turned you into a robot. What you want to do is to not be a robot.
So we
So at the
simply,
very
yes. So we simply
yeah.
get rid of tedious, unproductive activities, opening from a system
Yes.
to another, scanning invoice, logging data, opening emails, just copy and paste. All these things can be automated in an easy and friendly way.
Exactly.
So is it done? You have a solution for RPA on Azure as well?
We do have customers who actually use that. There's also another link we have that shows you all the different customers we have and their success stories and what they used as AI APIs and so on and so forth. It's actually a portal that's available for everyone to see. It's not just a Microsoft resource. It's not an internal Microsoft resource. If I remember, it was customers.microsoft.com. I'll also send you that link in the chat. So once we're done, when we're during our break, when I'm done with my presentation and everything, you'll find me posting a couple of links. So up until now, we have the link for the fraud detection GitHub solution. I'm gonna send you the customer stories. You were also asking for the link for the studio so that we can be able to develop the machine learning processes themselves. So I have these 3 links in mind that I'll be adding to the chat at the very end.
Thank you.
You are most welcome. Now, intelligent customer support is something that I believe each and every entity in Egypt needs to implement, because up until today, we do find a lot of issues. The cool thing about that is you are talking to an agent, but at the same time, what you're being said is being transcribed. So first you go with speech to text and you store that speech, you store that text. It then does a lot of cool things with the text. First of all, it looks into the entities you're talking about. It looks at the sentiment you're talking about. It extracts key phrases. So you could be talking about, okay, so Vodafone, you've been causing me a lot of issues within this specific location. Please check the cell tower that serves this area. So first of all, they'll note that, okay, my tone wasn't an irritated tone, but my sentiment wasn't very happy. All right, so perfect. It notices cell tower current location. So the current location would be the named entity, for example. It could be Heliopolis. So they go, they check the cell tower in Heliopolis. The key phrase would be the service wasn't the best thing ever. Sentiment analysis wasn't the best thing ever is not a positive sentiment. All right, so we need to do 1, 2, 3, and 4 to be able to remedy that. Of course, if what I'm saying is, hi, Mr. Vendor, I called you 10 times, my solution hasn't been fixed yet. I'm unable to use the product you sent me. I'm unable to go through the service you've provided me. I am considering leaving the company. I'm considering changing my contract and going to another company. Definitely leaving the company and so on. Okay, something needs to be done there. Key phrase extraction, named entity recognition. These two will say, okay, something is very wrong. The current agent will receive an alert telling him to give this call to someone else, someone who is specified in escalations, interventions, and so on. So this real-time processing of the text that's been taken right away has been handled. Why? Because you are implementing the AI APIs to understand what's being said, to analyze what's being said, and then to take an action based on that. Of course, at the very end of the call, and even during calls, you can look at reports that give you insights around what happened, what's going to happen, how many times it happened, and so on and so forth. So the intelligent customer support thing is something very important that should be implemented. Why? Because one thing that causes a lot of damage is this churn. When a customer churns from the company they have a contract with, they get a service from, churning from a bank, from a telco, from any type of service provider. Anyone giving a service is supposed to have that to be able to reduce negative sentiment and be able to provide the proper service for their customers. And that these were the two use cases we had for the AI part. So let's move forward. The last thing now is knowledge mining. And we'll go through this fairly fast.
Before you start, Frederick, it's interesting when you talk about knowledge mining, not data mining, because most of people are familiar with data mining. And knowledge mining is quite interesting topic because lots of knowledge are in everyone's head in the organization. So that's amazing when you talk about it. So please elaborate more.
Definitely. So knowledge mining actually builds on top of data mining. So it knowledge mining could be considered as an application of the AI APIs that you currently have. Previously, what you used to do was you would search for something using a keyword. You just search in Google, Bing, and so on, just a couple of words, and that's it. The step after that took it from keyword search to, and let's hit the next button on the keyboard. So now we search for context. See, if you didn't know the name Eiffel Tower, you wouldn't be able to get it. But when you understand the context, so you're adding some intelligence there, you write famous tower, it knows about the tower. Cognitive search, you could add something different. You can add an image and so on. It would understand that it's the Eiffel Tower. Almost everyone knows that the most famous tower in France is the Eiffel Tower. Yes, they do have a more famous tower there, our obelisk. And at a certain angle in Paris, you can see them aligned with each other. So the Egyptian obelisk and the Eiffel Tower. But if someone talks about a tower in Paris, it's definitely the Eiffel Tower. So you can either write Eiffel Tower or you could imply the Eiffel Tower. If you have a knowledge base and you're doing some knowledge mining, you're going to be able to reach the Eiffel Tower because you added an intelligent aspect to your database. And that's the whole idea behind cognitive search. See, you have your built-in AI, you're using the AI APIs, you're able to customize it programmatically, of course, to be able to fit your need, and it's fully managed by you. You only need to manage the application. Everything else in the back end, the servers and so on, they're managed by us because we add the benefits of the cloud to this specific type of solution. And knowledge mining is what we use in our cognitive search. Basically, we have, this is the fourth link I'll be sending you. We have a very nice example for that. We call it the, what's it called? The JFK files demo. It uses Azure Search, Azure Cognitive Search, so our knowledge mining part to be able to build an application that allows you to search within documents and so on for different keywords and key phrases and everything. So let's move a step forward. Now, the whole idea is for you to be able to have this knowledge mining. First of all, you need data sources. You need to be able to get data. So you get lots of documents, you ingest lots of documents, physical documents, physical documents, virtual documents, of course, PDF files, Word files, even vocal documents and so on. And you start analyzing those and understanding what's inside. You'll note here that you ingest and then you start looking at what's inside. So locations, key phrases, organizations, faces, languages, some machine learning models even implemented to extract different features and so on. And then you enrich your knowledge base. So you have a structure here. So it's not just about the document and the text inside the document. No, you have a document, history, the origin, designs, materials, aesthetics, images, and so on, tags, and things that you can use to enrich your knowledge base. That's why it's called knowledge mining, because you build a knowledge base that you will then mine. You're using a knowledge base to enrich your application and give you all the different insights that you need to find from this knowledge base. And you can integrate this knowledge base in chatbots as well, in different applications and so on and so forth. So everything we talked about today could all be integrated in a single solution. You just use things the way they need to be used. Once this enrichment is then done, you can then start using your application. So the whole exploration part, that's where you use what you actually built. This is the cognitive search part. And this is actually how the JFK files do work. Once I send you the link, you're gonna see what I actually mean. So let's move forward. We can actually skip or skim through these next few slides. We don't have too much time left. So the scenarios usually are things around, since we're talking about knowledge mining and knowledge bases, you'll see that it's all about auditing and compliance, getting documents around auditing and compliance, looking at the resources we have, digital asset management, process management, looking at the processes we have and seeing whether they're properly implemented or not, technical content review, like for example, you have different technical components, they have their user manuals and their technical descriptions and so on, so you can ingest those in your knowledge base and then start asking questions. Okay, so I need to know how to use component X. I need to see how component X and Y could be fit together. All that is in your knowledge base thanks to this training process. If we're looking into auditing and compliance, you see here, for example, you have some cognitive skills that you're using, like language detection, named entity extraction, automatic translation. You add clause extraction and risk identifier. These are some custom skills that you can actually develop. So it's not just about what we currently have, but if you want to add additional aspects to our AI APIs, you could do those. Of course, I'll refrain from too many details now, but this is something you can do to add even more skills to the application itself. These slides are actually shareable. So if there's a way to share the slides, it's perfectly fine. Now for the digital asset management, it's similar to what we had earlier. All we want to do is you're ingesting a lot of information, magazines, images, and so on. The difference is here, for example, you're looking at geolocations, biographies, image tagging, and so on. So it's all about documents as well, understanding what the images are telling us, what the text is telling us, so you can then be able to explore. And you see here, for example, that we're using a web app to deploy this experience. All right, so basically we can say that we're done with what we wanted to talk about today. So essentially we covered machine learning, AI, and knowledge mining. In essence, what I want you to know is, other than, of course, all the customers that use our solutions, and you'll find that lots of them are very popular, BMW, Little Caesars, the NBAs, different industries from different places in the world. What I want you to keep in mind is, and that's something I'm very happy that you already know, data is extremely important. You have to analyze it and you have to find the best way to analyze it. And so you have artificial intelligence that helps with a large part there, with different APIs that mimic human beings, and to understand what's being said, what's being written, the sentiment behind it, what are the objects here, what are the objects there. You also have machine learning to add additional value there, because machine learning is the core of artificial intelligence, or at the core of artificial intelligence, and it adds on top of artificial intelligence as well. And you leverage artificial intelligence for different things such as knowledge mining.
So we have very less than 5 minutes, so we need quickly to take questions, please. Okay, Frederick? So
yeah, definitely.
So one question, I'm interested in Azure Data Hub. Can you please elaborate data storage model, configuration tools, APIs, extra?
I can send you links for that.
Perfect, okay. Another question, I still can't understand if AI and machine learning will be able to handle process concessions, deviations, and be able to take business decisions, e.g. dealing with customer complaints.
Well, there's one thing that we need to take into account is that still artificial intelligence and machine learning are machines. There will always be a human factor when it comes to decision making. But AI and ML will help with the process of decision making. Like, for example, if I need to understand a certain pattern, like customers were dissatisfied because of 1, 2, 3, and 4. What historically happened was that when we handled 1, 2, 3, and 4 this way, we were able to achieve good results. In another way, bad results. So we learn from that, and our ML or AI environments will then tell us. So we use those to help us with the decision-making process, to make it easier, but they will not decide on our behalf unless it's something that's clear. Like, for example, it could decide, okay, so the reading of the sensor is 10 degrees higher than normal. then send a work, what's it called? And send to someone so that they can send a technician to fix this right away. This doesn't need any human intervention. Or for example, if a customer that had a negative experience, like all other customers that had the same negative experience with this product, they say, okay, so we got disconnected. All right, so this is a common known issue with disconnecting, and we were able to solve it by giving people a certain offer. خلاص, then just give them this offer right away. But be very careful when using AI for decision making. It should help with decision making, not do the decision making for you.
But it can suggest.
It can suggest, definitely.
Yes, yes. We use it to suggest and see the percent of error because we build a model and there is, of course, reviews. But at least
Yes.
it can detect anomalies, fraud.
Oh, yeah.
And for customer complaints, what you mentioned, because we get calls and a human will just summarize it, but when I have an AI layer and I summarize many things, so it's not up to the human alone. So it's
yeah.
Yes.
That's where you help the human make the decision, because you're providing the human with a lot of value at their hands they didn't have earlier. See,
Yes.
if the human being didn't have AI and ML in front of them to give them all these insights, then we'll still be making decisions in the dark.
Yes, one of the organizations we work with in Dubai, they had a fantastic application of this. It was about mystery shopping, because usually companies do send someone as a mystery shopper to your retail shops or make a call or make a visit. And based on it, you make satisfaction level. And that's a sample, okay? Our customer in Dubai, we simply had a solution that they wanted to have that's the whole idea, and it came very easy and handy with technology, that we put a mic, and this mic would record all the conversation between the agent and the customer. Okay. In the beginning, we had human beings take samples and analyze the calls, and that was completely inefficient. So using the AI and analyzing the speech, the voice, the words itself, we had very high level of transparency and visibility, and even the agents, they improved themselves a lot with handling customers.
Fantastic, fantastic.
Yes, yes, yes. So we can have another question. It's about, so can we use Azure to support our ERP system or SAP to make the right decision? It's a question.
Yeah, definitely. Because in the end, your ERP system is going to be a data source. So you look into the data that you have within your ERP, you can pull this data, push it into a machine learning model, or push it into certain APIs, and just derive the insights you're looking for. Depends on what you want to actually implement, but yeah, definitely, it's going to be treated as a data source.
Of course. Many applications have been two-way dealing with SAP and taking data. That's amazing, because you can imagine, everyone can imagine, you add a layer of thinking, a layer of intelligence to your ERP.
And SAP and Microsoft have been working hand in hand really well over the past few years. We have a very good partnership together, and we do look at different ways with which our solutions can enrich one another. And this is one very important scenario that we have.
So thank you, Frederick. We are going to share your presentation, send the link to everyone who has attended. It has been great. I would like
You're
to
most
thank
welcome.
you in the way you have packaged all the information in such a presentation and make it easy for everyone.
Thank you.
Really nice. I have to say big like from myself. Okay?
I'm very happy you liked it. It's my pleasure.
Yes, yes, yes. I have been working, we have been a Microsoft partner for a while, for 2 years. And
nice.
We cannot keep up with the development. It's hard.
Yep. It's very challenging. That's true.
Yes,
the new things coming up all the time.
People, how everyone is crazy about it. How the community ideas and everywhere. So it's becoming evolutionary, like exponential. So it's amazing.
Yep. I totally agree.
You can't just close your eyes, because if you will happen.
Yep.
Okay, thank you, Frederick. It has been great.
Thank you so much. Thank you. My pleasure.
Yes, we will share it, and everything will be fantastic. Everyone is happy about the presentation. Some people even say they want to study it as well.
That's amazing. All right, you know what? I'm gonna add a fifth link to the chat window, which shows you the different courses you can study as well.
Okay, and there is a free course for being AI engineer, right?
Yes, it's
Many courses, yes, many free knowledge. Amazing, it's impressive.
Yep, that's true. I'll actually send you what I was going to send was the link of Microsoft Learn. So I'll send you the Microsoft Learn link, and I'll show you where within this link you can go and actually get the certification and stuff.
Perfect. So stay with us, add your links. We will share everything with everyone. And now we have to move to Rudy. Okay?
Perfect. All right.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you,
Rudy.
everyone.